and I wanted to touch on and talk about something regarding the diet world. I wanted to point out why your diet sucks and why it's not for a lot of you and why it didn't work for me. Okay, so the reason why that's usually the case and why people end up with the world of yo-yo dieting, where they try diets and then they try it, although they succeed, sometimes they fall back into gaining back the weight all over again, only to end up in that endless cycle. It's because sometimes when people look at the diets that come in every year, it seems like there's something new and they see success in other people, right? Someone in the neighborhood told you about this new diet that they're trying out and it works for them, and they saw they lost a lot of pounds, 7 to 10 pounds, and you, who is trying everything and anything you can to lose weight, gets excited and want to try this new diet that your neighborhood Sally is trying. So the thing is, what works for her doesn't mean it's also going to work for you. So you need to consider the psychology side of things and stop trying different things. Stop trying different diets that's available for you out there. So what you need to is your mindset where, okay, let's say if this diet does work for you and you do see success and you lose the first few pounds, right? What are you going to do after that so-called diet? How are you going to sustain this for a longer period of time? What's going to stop you for regaining those pounds that you already lost? So now those questions to yourself, and you say, oh, this diet that I tried works for me and it's something that I love to do. Let's say it's keto or any low carb diet. Let's say that's what you did and you saw. Are you able to live without carbs for the rest of your lives? Ask your question that. Or were you only willing to do that for that 90 days or however long it took for you to lose those pounds? If you are someone like me without their sugar, their carbohydrates and stuff, and you are going to end up missing those food and it's going to destroy your soul if you don't get to eat them again, then I say this diet is not going to be for keeps. And what you'll end up doing, I almost can guarantee you, is you're going to gain that weight back if you don't know what to do right after you do this diet, because you're lost. You miss those carbs, you miss those whatever food you restricted, and you end up going back to it and you gain those pounds back again. So what do? If you're not going to follow that diet for the rest of it, you gain your pounds back, what do? So that's why each and every diet that you try out there usually doesn't work. It might work at the beginning phases, but at the end of that, ask yourself, I'm going to do for the rest of my life, is this going to be how I want to live life? If your answer is yes, then go for it. Continue with that so-called diet. But if your answer is no to all those questions, then I suggest you look for something that is more sustainable for you, the one that's going to work for you. And that's typically and usually something that doesn't involve any types of over restriction. So take it from me, I have done it before. I have tried keto diet and it did work for 7 months. I pushed and it did work for me. And then after that, I had a huge question mark of what now? And also I want to add on to that, typically when we try these new diets, usually it involves some type of restriction of eliminating some type of food groups and stuff. And when we do that, we're considering the factor that goes in here, the psychology. We're humans, and sometimes we build relationships with food. There are foods that make us happy. There are foods that make us old. There are nutritious food that will feed us with good, clean sources of energy, but there are also foods that feed our soul. So there's this thing that I saw somewhere on Facebook, someone said, and which I really, really do agree. There's should be 80% food for the goal, 20% food for the soul. And I totally agree with that. We should just stop labeling our foods with good versus bad. They're all food. They're all something we eat. They're all something we consume. And for different people, it feeds different part of whatever they believe in, whatever makes them function well. It's partly here, partly everywhere. So I'm not just trying to follow a diet just because that's the protocol that the diet calls for, and it makes me my goals, but also I want something that I follow, that I do, that also feeds my well-being and my happiness. And if there's some food that I enjoy, something that I enjoy eating and creating memories with the family and the friends and people that I love, then why am I going to get rid of that? Right? It doesn't make sense.